Do you want early access? Do you want uncut reactions? If so, then check out our Patreon. Link in the description down below. That last episode was a bit of a downer. I mean, that's what I figured this series would be. Like, every now and again, we would just get an episode that would just rip our hearts out.
I have a feeling overall it's going to be a pretty heavy series.
Well, you think about it. I mean, child soldiers, like, unfeeling and unyielding government, a sense of genetic superiority. I mean, it's a dark world. Battles
and wars took place all the time in like old anime series, but it didn't really start to be a trend to kill off main characters until more recently, like the 2000s, 2010s.
And it took a while, I think, for the trend to catch on, and now it's basically everywhere. Red Wedding. God. That's such a friggin' like swerve no one expected.
Like I always say when I talk about it, I'm just like, it was crazy to me because it ended an entire plot arc. There was a battle going on. And
well, it was a war, and the side that died was they won every battle.
Right, yeah, and like the winning side just basically was murdered outside of the war. Like, it was crazy.
You can basically just have everything taken from you, just like that. Overall, like, this series, we're only 3 episodes in. We're about to watch the 4th, and already I've had my heart like ripped out a couple times. If this is only the beginning, I can only imagine where we're going to be.
It's also sad to me because the character that died is like pretty much the one that I was like, hey, she looks like Maki from Fire Force.
All because of a mistake that she made by rushing in instead of like waiting for command. Because that's the thing. It wasn't Lena's fault. I know there could be people who would see that and be like, it was Lena's fault for not recognizing sooner. It's just like, how was Lena supposed to say anything to her when she was going off on her own?
No, like, she had that map because she put forth the effort to get a hold of it, and otherwise it definitely wouldn't have been anywhere close to her fault because she wouldn't have even had that map to tell her to stop in the first place.
This series has really hit me, and I can't wait to keep going. So let's not wait. Here we go. Bruh, come on, man. Uh-oh.
The one thing I noticed, by the way, about this is that, like, death is so... Like, obviously they're upset when one of theirs dies, but it's just so normal to them that they barely... Like, they go straight back into their routines afterwards.
Well, again...
Like, they don't have a mourning period at all.
Well, no,
like,
you get desensitized to it eventually as well. Especially, like, the world that you get used to, that you grow up in. Like me...
You kind of have to, like, whenever that's what's happening and that's your daily life. But, I mean, obviously... They're kind of like, you know, giving him shit right now when he's clearly more upset about her than anybody else.
It's wonderful for you. So it was her father who instilled this in her. 理想というのは手が届かないほど高いから理想というのだよ。届かないと知りながらなお追い続けるのは愚かで卑怯なことだとは思わないかね。私はレーナ、ブラディレーナ・ミリーセと言います。
な今更ですけれども、あなたたちの名前を教えていただけませんか？
ラフィングフォックスの言ったことを気にされているのでしたら、それは不要です。別にあれが我々の相違というわけではありません。医療には傍受できないパラレード下でコールサインの使用が義務付けられ、プロセッサーの人事ファイルも開示されないのだと思いますか？
ハンドラーがプロセッサーを人間と考えずに済むようにですね。
ええ。
それは卑怯です。私も卑怯でした。
昨日戦死したキルシュブリーテはカイエ・タニアです。副長のベアボルフが来電手段。ラフィングフォックス、セオトリッカ。
Sorry, I'm not saying much. It's just like I said, this is a heavy show.
It is. And I'm just taking it all in. I'm like absorbing this information.
何をしているのですか？
カイエの名前を残しています。86には墓がありませんので、そいつの機体の破片に刻んで生き残ったやつが持っていよう。今までずっとそうでした。だからこの隊でもそれは俺の役目です。
5年前からずっと。どれくらいの人数になるのですか
？561名です。
Damn.
カイエを含めて。
だからあなたはアンダーテイカーなのですね。
それもあります。
私は死なせた部下と向き合いもせず嘆いただけで。ごめんなさい。本当に直接全員に謝らせていただけないでしょうか？
では繋がせましょうか。
今ですか？いえ、大丈夫です。私はハンドラー、ブラディレーナ・ミリーセです。あなたたちを人として扱っていなかった。それを自覚もしていなかったのは
シンから聞いてるんでしょ。めんどくさいな。
伺っています。ですが皆さん本人から教えていただいたわけではありません。
余計なことするから。後悔してたろ。内容はともかく言い方を。
笑う狐なんだけど、これ人から引き継いだんだ。
それは
最初に配属された隊の戦隊長だった。あんたと同じアルバだった。86だけ戦わせるなんておかしいって最前線まで戻ってきた物好きでさ。大嫌いだったよ。帰らないで死んだ。しんがり引き受けて死んだ。別に隊長と同じことしろとか思ってるわけじゃないよ。ただ壁の中にいる以上、あんたは僕たちとは対等じゃないし。僕はセオとリッカだ。セオでもリッカでも可愛いクソブタちゃんでも好きに呼んでよ。
ごめんなさい。昨日までは本当に。
それいいよ、もうめんどくさいな。
戦隊副長ライデン・シュガだ。あんたが毎晩繋いでくるのを俺たちは、聖女気取りの偽善者の豚が自分の豚加減に気づきもしねえでおめでたいって笑ってた。それについては詫びる。悪かった。ダイヤイルマでした。アルトです。よろしく。
アンジュ・エマです。少佐クレのククミロレッカです。
ステです。キノちゃんです。
ありがとうございます。
Hmm.
あなたの名前を聞いていないと思うのですが、もしかして名乗りたくないのですか？
No
い
Shin.
え、ただ忘れていただけです。失礼しました。新鋭ノーゼンです。
奨励ノーセンという方をご存知ではありませんか？デュラハンというパーソナルネームで首のない騎士のマークをつけた。
Oh.
兄です。
Shin had, or what looks like had a brother. That's an interesting bit of information.
Yeah, this show is, in my opinion, like after this many episodes, kind of genius. Because of the level of just the acknowledgement, like behind everything that other action war series and shows don't always tend to ever like bring up. So like Gundam, for example, like obviously people die in Gundam, not usually main characters. The combat is lethal. Like, you know, if your Gundam gets destroyed, you're probably going with it.
Odds are,
not
yeah.
always, but you know, you can definitely die in a Gundam fight, but the focus is the fact that there's giant awesome robots fighting with each other.
Oh yeah.
And this is looking at a different aspect, it's like introduced from the very first scene. There's giant, awesome robots fighting with each other. That was our first thought when we saw that first scene. Oh man, they're like spider mechs. This looks awesome. This looks crazy. This is going to be a cool show, you know, but the focus has been beyond that. But what about the people behind the controls? Like, they're still soldiers. This is still war.
They're human.
There is still tragedy. You know,
there's
still
always
people,
tragedy with war,
like, and there's still a vast amount of emotions and thoughts going through everyone's heads in regards to what's going on. So, in my opinion, the show's kind of genius, like, for looking at it from this perspective.
I would agree with that. This show is actually very, like, in terms of how it's putting everything together in terms of character development. I mean, it's doing it in a little bit of a different way, you know, because usually they would have that moment where the commander has this revelation, like, halfway through the season, but instead something tragic happens within the first few like expeditions, or the first few fights, and there's a huge like one of the soldiers like explodes, like just like friggin' like just rails into the friggin' the commander, and then the commander then and there has to have the personal confrontation. Like, I haven't been treating them like human beings have been treating them. I haven't like been as open with them as I should have been from the beginning. And again, it's character growth. And I'm glad that it's progressing at a faster rate. 'Cause don't get me wrong, I like the slow burn, but I think the main way it's able to progress fast logically is because of the synchronization earpieces. I think that's the main reason how they're able to do all this really fast and don't have to be bogged down with, like, you have to meet up in person, or, you know, you have to, like, mope and dope around after something terrible happens. Instead, it's like it's confronted immediately and just like dealt with within like a couple episodes. But yeah, there's like, again, the way they're progressing this is really great. They're building a personal relationship with Lena and the rest of the Spear and like all of Spearhead, and then of course Shin now has this little tidbit of information that Lena asked about his brother, and that's something that actually made Shin like pause for a second, because we haven't really seen him have any emotion for the most part. And the fact that he did there, that to me is just wow.
It's like the fact that she caught him off guard was sort of a new thing we've seen with him.
Oh yeah.
There's also, I feel like, some commentary on real world stuff with this as well, like not even relating to war necessarily, but like essentially the hypocrisy behind, like, it's going to get into a whole political thing and probably have some people blow up on me at this point if I say this, but hopefully not. The hypocrisy behind basically being a keyboard warrior, I guess.
Kind of, yeah.
Sitting behind your keyboard, being like, oh, like, these people need to be treated a certain way, and this is not okay that this is happening, but that's all you ever do. Like, as opposed to, like, the people who are actually out in dicey situations protesting stuff with, like, volatile environments, like, where they potentially could be in danger at a point. And like, you're just like, I support you from your keyboard at your house, like, yeah. And I mean, it's like that. Well, I mean, like, you saying that, it's like, okay, cool, thanks, but like, until you come out here and you're on the streets telling people that we're not standing for this, you're not really on the same level that we are.
You're not really helping anything. Instead, you're just posturing and pretending like you're doing something.
You're essentially trying to show everyone online that, like, I'm a good person, I just don't have the guts to actually do anything. Like, so, and it's it's a commentary on that. I feel like, and it's a situation I don't really blame people for. Like, not everyone has the guts to go be on the front line, so to speak. I mean, with war as well. Like, I mean, it's always a thing. It's like, I support your, like, you know, it's like, thank you for your service to, like, troops, you know, all the time. Like, but
yeah,
it takes a certain kind of person to put their life on the line to go out and fight for a country as well. Like, and I'm not that kind of person because I've never been able to justify it to myself as I'm okay with going to be owned by this country more than I already am, to be told to do whatever they decide they're going to do, even if I don't fucking agree with it. Like, because, I mean, if someone comes to invade us and they're threatening our way of life, at that point, I could wholly be behind picking up a gun and being like, how about fuck yourself?
Yeah.
Like, you know, to the other place. But the fact that if I'd sign up with our government, they could just be like, all right, so we're going over to this other place to basically boss around civilians and be dickheads and pretty much, like, set up to make sure that we can take their oil when we want to. Like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of philosophical things and many conversations to be had behind this stuff, and I feel like this is trying to dialogue a little bit about some of that, and that's why another reason I appreciate it, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's trying to show the perspective from both sides, too. It's like some people really, really, really do want to do something and are literally just incapable. They don't have the means. Like, it's impossible.
Yes.
But if they had the means, like, in a moment's notice, they would be there to do what they could, pretty much. Mm-hmm. It's like the guy that went to fight with them. Like, you know, he's like, I have the ability to go out and fight, and I'm fucking going to. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's like not everybody can do that, though.
No. This is true.
But they would if they could.
Yeah. Again, man, there's so much to unpack with, like, the personal emotions of every character in this, and I feel like every character has enough depth to where they could basically have an entire arc themselves. Mm-hmm. I think there's enough there, but
it's like I'm really interested to see where the show goes because if the mech battles and stuff never actually take like the foreground, like I'm 100% okay with that at this point.
Oh, same.
Like, because there's just a lot more to be said, and this has already shown that there's a lot more to be said than just cool mech battles, like, basically.
Well, I mean, if cool mech battles was the only thing that they had, then I would be okay with that. But the fact that it has cool mech battles, but also like hard truths and like personal developments like this, it's all the better. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. It's just because it's like a two-pronged assault like that. I think this is a great show from top to bottom. But anyway, everyone, we're gonna have to end it here. This was episode 4 of 86, Real Name, and I love this. I love this so far, and I guess moving forward, now they're gonna call each other by their real names, and I'm hoping that this leads to better, a better relationship between Lena and the rest of the Spearhead group. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Until next time, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
We'll see you in the next one, everyone. Peace.